Good afternoon, everyone. Today is March 11th. It's 1:44 p.m. Thank you for coming to today's City Planning Commission regular meeting. First, we will start by roll call, followed by the formal public hearing of rules, and then our regular business. So I'll call roll. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Lund. Commissioner Joshi Gupta.
Here.
Commissioner Witry.
Here.
Commissioner Jordan here. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Steig. Here. Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Okay, so the formal public hearing rules reads as follows. The City Planning Commission has established certain rules governing the procedures to be followed at public hearings. Before speaking, each person shall give their name, address, and state whom he or she is representing. Proponents of the proposal will speak first for a period of 10 minutes. Each speaker shall be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes. Opponents or other interested parties will speak second for a period of 15 minutes. Each speaker shall be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes. Proponents will be allowed a period of 6 minutes for a rebuttal. Each speaker shall be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes. Opponents will not be allowed to rebut. No material, including written matter, photographs, maps, and other items, will be accepted by the Commission or its staff at any time during this public hearing. This procedure shall be followed except at such a time when the presiding officer shall, with the approval of the Commission members present, extend such time. And with that said, we'll start first with the adoption of meeting minutes from our February 25th meeting.
Commissioner Witry will make a motion to adopt those meeting minutes from February 25th.
Second, Commissioner Stewart.
We have a motion on the floor for adoption from Commissioner Witry, seconded by Commissioner Stewart. If there's no further discussion, we will vote our machines. And our meeting minutes are adopted. The first item of business is zoning docket item 01425.
Zoning docket 1425 is a request for a text amendment to add wine shop as a conditional use in the CBD5 Urban Core Neighborhood Lower Intensity Mixed Use District. This is a reapplication of zoning docket 12619, which was recommended for denial by the City Planning Commission and subsequently denied by the City Council. This request will again allow the applicant to open a wine shop at Pluck Restaurant, which is located at 722 Girard in the CBD5 district. Since their initial application, there have been changes made to the CZO, affecting the definition, use standards, and use permissions of wine shops. They are now permitted in more base zoning districts than in 2019. However, these base zoning districts typically permit bars and the retail sale of packaged alcohol, either by right or through the conditional use process. So this proposal contemplates wine shops as conditional use in the CBD5 district. The CBD5 district prohibits bars outright and allows the retail sale of packaged alcohol through the conditional use process. So the City Planning Commission has consistently recommended denial for wine shops in zoning districts where bars aren't permitted. Staff also contends that approval of this request will undermine the intrinsic nature of this lower intensity CBD5 district, which is catered to residential and neighborhood serving uses. Therefore, staff recommends denial of this request.
Thank you. We have a couple of comment cards in support. First, from the applicant, Nicole Weber.
Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for being here for our two zoning dockets. Obviously, we're coupled with the second one. It's part two of this request. So Pluck Wine and Restaurant is in a unique situation that in order to make state and city laws work together, because they don't always coincide, what we're recommending is to do a conditional use in the first 500 square feet. There's two separate entrances and exits at Pluck, and what we're recommending or asking for is that the first 500 square feet, which is the minimum requirement for state law, be the wine shop. And so it would have its own entrance, and that's where the wine shop would be located. There's already an allowance, obviously, for the restaurant to have consumption on site, so we're not asking for that with the wine shop. But Sky Latour, who you'll hear from, the proprietor of Pluck, which is also a James Beard Award nominee, they would like to be able to legally sell bottles of wine for off-site consumption. So this is a way to make the state law and the city law work together. And obviously, it's a conditional use, so any concerns that it would open up the floodgates, that would mitigate it, because anyone moving forward asking for a request would have to go through the conditional use process. And as noted by the staff's report, there's already a conditional use for liquor stores. However, we felt that that was too extreme of a request, and also looking to the future of the use, 20 years down the line, if Sky is not running the operation, to leave behind a liquor store is much different than leaving behind a wine shop that would be limited to that 500 square feet area. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Weber, can you just state your name and address for the record, please?
So sorry. Nicole Weber, 2131 Bienville.
So I have a question before you leave. So in the conditional use application, which is next, you're limiting yourself to 500 feet?
So the requirement for state for a wine shop is you have to have at least 500 square feet. So we would have to be anywhere from 500 to 700 square feet, and that can be added as a condition in the conditional use.
So that's not right now.
It's not right. No, it was not in the application. We were still trying to work out what would.
And is your application for conditional use limited to off-site sales?
We would be happy to have that as a proviso as well.
But that's not in there.
It's not.
I just
currently in
violated
there.
our own rules. I'll be cited by the chair. And I'll hang up.
So I would say a limitation to, let's say, 700 square feet, and then in addition to that, a limitation on the conditional use for on-site consumption at the wine shop.
So why 700 if your minimum is only 5?
Because that would allow us the flexibility of being able to section off that area of the existing 1,500 square feet for just the wine shop. And I don't know the exact square feet measurement. So, and the requirement for the state is at least 500. So I don't want to limit ourselves to just 500.
Can somebody at some point measure that before we're done?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We have another comment card from the applicant, Sky Latour.
So why is my ring?
Hello, my name is Sky Latour. I own Pluck Wine Bar, and
Excuse me. Do you mind moving the mic a little bit closer towards you?
like
Perfect.
that.
There you go.
Yes, and I am applying for this more or less to expand my ability to sell wine. Wine is my career. Pluck is my life. Before it existed, it was everything I thought about. And the dream is to be able to sell wine and educate about wine. And so far, I've worked with the wine bar and restaurant license because I wanted to be in New Orleans and I wanted to have a place, and it's been working out really great. But there is a lot that I could do for our locals and our neighbors who continually ask if we could sell them retail, and also on the education front, and just to pursue selfishly my dream of being able to have that flexibility. Is sort of crucial to being able to survive here as a hospitality anything. And while the restaurant's going really well so far, the ability to sell retail will not only help me with my peace of mind and pursue further the career and the dream I wanted in the first place, but will also give me that stability that I will probably need one day or another. So that's why I'm here, hoping to be able to make this caveat work for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Question for the applicant. Do you own the property or are you leasing it?
I am leasing the property.
Thank you. Next, we have a comment card in support from Craig Mitchell.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Mitchell, 615 Barone Street, Suite 300, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70113. I'm a former commissioner, former chair of the Planning Commission, and I've been on Barone Street for over 20 years. I was on the Planning Commission when Rouse's came through. I was on the Planning Commission when the Virgin Hotel came through. I've been in this neighborhood for a long time, and coincidentally, I fashioned myself as the original regular of Pluck. My wife and I drove by opening night. It was late. We saw the light on, and we stopped in, and that's how we met Sky. I don't want to go into how often I'm there, but it's enough. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, having lived there so long, having been on the Planning Commission. I was on a Planning Commission when we did the bike paths. So I don't take this lightly. You've never seen me here on anything before, but I saw the little sign up, and I said, Sky, what's going on? The clientele of Pluck, it's the home away from home. You know, it's the home away from home. The neighborhood coalesces. I've met a lot of new friends there. I'm also very familiar with the staff at Pluck. They are very responsible. This is, in my estimation, this isn't something that's going to get out of control or go crazy. One of the things that happens at Pluck is you have the Pluck of the day. You have a wine pour of the day. And I would like to, when I have that good pour, I'd like to be able to purchase that bottle and walk back to my office or go back home with it. So with all due respect, I understand the nuances that you guys have to look at, but really this is a jewel in the CBD that we need to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a card from Mark Snyder.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Schneider. I live at 731 St. Charles Avenue, Suite 403, suite condo. I'm a permanent resident there. Pluck is about 150 feet around the corner from St. Charles to Pluck. I've never measured it, but we're just around the corner. And my wife and I found Pluck one time by just walking around the neighborhood. I want to comment that the neighborhood is, if you know the neighborhood, it's a very safe, quiet, respectable neighborhood with a lot of very expensive properties nearby that people live in. In reference to Pluck, and by the way, I'm not as articulate as our previous speaker here is. I know that when I'm trying to talk politics with him. But anyway, the employees at Pluck are the most knowledgeable people about fine wines that I've ever met. And I've gone all over the world drinking wines in many, many countries. I was so impressed that I decided to come here today to support Sky. The wines that they would be selling, and I can't vouch for that, but I'm saying the wines that they provide for consumption are not found in Rouse's for the most part. These are kind of rare and exotic kinds of wines from many different countries. I presume that that's what they would be selling. They wouldn't be selling Night Train or Annie Green Springs or something like that. I was also incredibly impressed, but not surprised, that they were nominated for a James Beard Award, which would be a fantastic thing, another fantastic thing for this city. We're having such a hard time getting James Beard and Michelin stars here, so we're really excited that Sky got that nomination. I'm not surprised because, again, the ambiance there, the vibe, if you want to call it that, the clientele, I don't want to place myself on some elite status, but the neighbors around there, they're interested in buying these kinds of wines that they can't find anywhere else. So I'm supporting Sky's request, and I urge the council to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the comment cards in support. We have one card in opposition. Mr. I believe Michael Duplantier.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Michael Duplantier, 820 Barone Street, New Orleans. I'm also a longtime property owner, resident, business owner in the neighborhood. We've actually been there almost 50 years now. And I've been working in the neighborhood since the middle 1970s. There were a small group of us who back in the 70s decided we wanted a quiet, safe neighborhood that the gentleman just referred to. And we felt the best way to do that was to keep out liquor uses. And so we have worked for 50 years to do that. And we've been mostly successful, with the exception, of course, of standard restaurants. There may have been an exception or two along the way, but by and large, we've been able to do that. And I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this applicant or her restaurant by all accounts, including the closest neighbors. They love the place, and I hope it continues to be successful. However, the issue is that of a text amendment, which would infect the entirety of CBD 5. We're sort of surrounded by districts that allow liquor uses, and I can promise you, if the door is opened, it won't be that long before some other applicants who are less worthy than this one will be seeking to do exactly what this new law would allow them to do. They'll call themselves a wine shop, but that's not what they're going to be. I'm not that familiar with the new definition of wine shop. I tried to keep up with this application and the broader issues going back about a year. I did ask the councilman's office to keep me posted. They didn't. And I kind of lost track of it along the way, had some medical issues that I had to address. So the nuances, as the gentleman referred to, may be something I'm not all familiar with, but I do know the neighborhood. And I know that creating a text amendment which would allow wine shops, maybe one on each block, unless there's a conflict with a standard restaurant, is just not a great idea. And it's not consistent with what the people in the neighborhood have been trying to do for the past 50 years. So I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Duplantier? Mr. Duplantier,
Yes.
does this, the idea that this would be a conditional use and not a permitted use give you comfort?
I'm sorry. One of the setbacks of old age is hard of hearing. And
Does the conditional use part of this give you comfort that it would have to go through the added layer of scrutiny?
It certainly gives me more comfort than were it a permitted use. However, those of us who make a living coming to City Hall on conditional uses really don't favor the idea of creating more additional uses. I know that when we passed the master plan amendments back in 2008, one of the things we really, really wanted to do, and I was very much involved in that, was to limit conditional uses. And unfortunately, I don't think we've been so successful with that. It would help if the Commission is inclined to approve this. It would help to be conditional, yes. But I would really love to see some severe restrictions if that were the case. Frankly, if you permit me another moment here, I mean, most conditional uses applications that I've come before this commission, I would say 90% of them we lose. And I don't really think, as it's presently structured, conditional use is not a satisfactory protection for neighborhoods. It really needs to be rewritten if we ever get around to that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. Weber or the applicant, you have
Yes, if I may
some time to rebut.
on that. So to get back to the question about the square feet, we could limit it to 500 square feet. It would be, the floor plan was up, okay, there. See on the left, there's that portion, it's kind of, the entire space is 1,500 square feet, so that first area right there is approximately 500 feet, so we could limit it to 500 feet with no consumption within that area. And that would be absolutely doable. The other part is that we have 41 letters, emails, and then signatures, petition signatures from actual homeowners and residents within that block radius. And so 41 people, unfortunately, they can't be here, but they do support the request. And there was something else I wanted to add. It escaped my mind, so it must not have been important. Thank you.
What are the hours for the wine shop? Just because I'm looking at the other conditional uses in the neighborhood, the Poe Fair Market as well as Nesbitt Market, and you can go in there and purchase wine and leave, and they both close at 10. I know Keefe closes at 7. I don't see that that's a conditional use, but the Nesbitt and Poe Fair were both conditional use. So what would the hours be for the wine shop?
Yes, so right now, hours of operation, I believe for wine shops are 9 p.m. closing, and the restaurant does stay open till 10 p.m. And then by law in CBD 5, restaurants are able to stay open on the weekends. I think it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to midnight. And so we are requesting extended hour. I didn't want to bombard y'all with all the requests, so we were going to do that on the city council end to ask for an extension of the hours to match the restaurant hours in that closing, so an additional hour.
So I'm sorry. So just to add, wine shops are allowed 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Thursday through Saturday.
Okay, so this text amendment would be the same in line with that.
Correct.
Something else, I just remembered what I wanted to mention. So whereas it was asked if Sky, if Pluck Wine owns the property, they do not own the property. However, she does have a 15-year lease. So that ties her to the property more than any property owner could be tied to their property because they could sell at any point. But she is tied to a commercial, strict 15-year commercial lease.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd just like to ask the gentleman and the lady also. You said you have 41 residents or 41 letters of support of what? Residents or
Yes,
businesses
it's in
that area?
NPP report. I apologize, I don't remember what page that's on.
Yeah.
We do have the.
Okay, I see it. But you're saying 41, what's that, residents or businesses or?
Residents, yes.
Okay. And I'm just curious to Mr. Moran?
Duplantier.
Mr. Duplantier should be familiar with that name. You're here representing the opposition. How many people do you have that is in opposition to it? Did you bring us?
I think I'm the last survivor of those of us that been fighting liquor uses for many years now. I don't have any army behind me, and I'm pleased that the neighbors like the facility. But no, I'm with the Lafayette Square Association, but we're not a membership organization, so we don't have hordes of people behind us. It is a fairly strong residential neighborhood, though, and again, that's not by accident. It's by design, and it's been a successful. CBD 5 has really been the most successful in terms of staying true to its original zoning mission, I believe. And I would hate to see it lose that. We've actually been losing it to short-term rentals, as you all know, but we'd like to preserve at least some dignity in the neighborhood in terms of safe and quiet.
But I'm just curious as to, first of all, whether or not there is opposition, serious opposition, other than yourself, and whether or not whether or not people are supporting the idea of this expansion or not.
Yeah, again, I think it depends on how it's presented. If you ask people, do they like Pluck Restaurant? The answer would be yes. The question is, would you like to have wine shops all over the neighborhood? The answer would be universally no.
Well, I know that, but I'm talking about this one.
But we're not talking about this one. We're talking about a text amendment, which would open it to numerous wine shops around the neighborhood. That's the concern. If it were just this application, I wouldn't even be here. But that's not what's before the commission right now.
But if you add the conditional use, that would put some limitation on it.
Yeah, as I told the commissioner, it would help. But it just means every time somebody makes an application, we have to come in and either support it or oppose it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Could staff really quickly speak to the implications of the text amendment that's being brought up? Because I think there might need to be some clarity.
And right before that, can you please give a definition of a wine shop?
Yes, one moment.
I have it up ready if you want the definition. It's a long one. It's an establishment whose principal business is the sale of wine, where the sale of wine for on or off-premises consumption occupies 75% or more of the publicly accessible gross floor area for said establishment, and where smoking is prohibited in all indoor areas. Wine shops may also sell food for on or off-premises consumption and packaged beer and liquor for off-premises consumption. All sales shall be from within the retail outlet building. Sales are prohibited through any windows or doors. In addition to wine, beer may also be sold for on-premises consumption, but the area where wine and beer is consumed on the premises shall not occupy more than 15% of the publicly accessible gross floor area, not to exceed 300 square feet of the establishment. On-premises consumption of liquor shall be prohibited. Liquor and beer products shall not be advertised in any place visible from the exterior of the premises. Wine shops are prohibited from having video poker, selling lottery tickets, motor fuel, or any form of tobacco or vape products. Existing wine shops that sell tobacco and or vape products and have been issued a state of Louisiana tobacco retail dealer permit issued by the Louisiana Office of Alcohol and Tobacco Control prior to the adoption of this definition may continue to sell such products if they renew their state tobacco retail dealer permit each year unless such permit is revoked for any reason. That's the end of the definition.
Thank you for that. And according to your report, packaged liquor stores are in conditional use in
Correct.
CBD5? And what is the definition of packaged liquor retail establishment?
So it basically says retail sales of packaged alcoholic beverages for consumption off premises when licensed by the city. Sale of alcoholic beverages shall be in factory original containers.
Thank you.
I'll just kind of add that one distinction there that perhaps gets lost in the definition is that the retail ABO sales is just you buy it in a package and leave. There's no on-premises consumption component. The wine shop contemplates that while you won't pay for a drink and consume it on site, you might taste something before you buy it. And so there is a limited opportunity for on-site consumption as a tasting sort of element at a wine shop.
And I think there was a question about where the text amendment would apply. It would be the entirety of the CBD5 district. Can we pull up the map?
We don't care.
So that's the map of all the CBD5 districts in the city.
Keith, is that
Yes.
correct?
So, Mr. Chair, is the public hearing part closed?
The
The comment from the,
unless
have we finished with rebuttal, I guess is my question.
so if Ms. Guy would like to speak, you can, or you can cede your time to Ms. Weber. So you'd have 2 more minutes.
I don't even need that long. Did similar request, text amendment and conditional use in the VCS district a little over a year ago, and it's about the same radius. It's spread long, the Vucare Service District, versus obviously CBD5 is more of a box, right? And and that's Le Bouchon, which is fabulous, by the way. Please, you'll have to go try it out if you like wine. It's fabulous. But obviously Pluck is fabulous too. But CBD French Quarter. But anyway, my whole point is that we did the same exact mechanism a little over a year ago, and they have not been inundated with requests for additional conditional uses for wine shops. I mean, the market really does regulate itself.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the comment portion.
So I have a question for staff, and it's not an easy one. We can't put conditions into the definition of wine shop. This is a zoning change. But can we add conditions to the use regulations in CBD5 to say that a wine shop in CBD5, and I don't know I don't know exactly the heading of where it would go, but can restrictions be put into the CZO as opposed to being left to the conditional use process that
So we can-
apply to wine shops in CBD 5 to say, wine shops are wine shops, but in CBD 5, there's some additional restrictions and they are X, Y, and Z.
So we could update the use standards for wine shops in Article 20 to add those specific prohibitions.
But only for CBD 5.
So they were going Article 17. Is that the overlay for this district?
So the application is a text amendment, does specify creating a permission for wine shops in CB5, and it says subject to use standards. I suppose you could alter the use standards in the context of considering whether to grant the...
Just for CBD 5? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, that's not a legal opinion. I think it seems like it's within the scope of the motion.
I told you it wasn't going to be easy. Can somebody,
I would need to look into that and get back to y'all.
But
Would you be
doesn't-
trying to achieve
Yes.
with, I'm just curious, what
Yeah,
the
so what I'm-
regulations?
I'm inclined that, I'm a little worried about the conditional use process, not very worried, but a little, that if we were to grant the zoning change and grant the conditional use and put restrictions in the conditional use of no more than 500 square feet or so, no outside consumption, that would apply only to the conditional use for this property. And so somebody else who comes along for a conditional use might later, when memories are short, they wouldn't be subject to the same things. And if somebody sitting up here doesn't remember that we did that for this property and say, okay, we want to do it to your property. But if we could put it in the CZO,
Within the scope of...
if we were so inclined, to say in CBD 5, in deference to some of the neighborhood concerns, a wine shop can't have on-site consumption. And I'm just speaking for myself. You guys might not agree with this. That would codify it and not leave it to the vagaries of conditional uses later.
So Commissioner Stieg, another option would be if an overlay zoning district was introduced for the CBD5 as well.
Yeah, I don't...
So,
Yeah.
my understanding from your question is you're looking for something you can do today, right? In the context of this
Yes.
vote, right? So, yeah, we're trying to look it up right now.
To me, the conditional use process is specific to each business, and that is the point of the conditional use process. And so with each business that is here before us and what comes after us, we have to look at each project on its own merits or demerits and create conditional uses based on that. In this situation, if we decide that we want to allow for wine shops in CBD5 as conditional uses, which packaged liquor stores are allowed.
Right, no, I understand.
You can put a whole bunch of provisos that you want to, but part of the experience of wine is tasting and consumption on site. So I don't know how that would even help this business in any way if you put that sort of a restriction on it. But if another business comes along in a couple of years or a couple of months, you just go through the whole process again as a conditional use in a CBD5 district. So I don't think we should put more restrictions on overlays, which creates more work for staff and whatnot, in my opinion.
I agree, especially because of the nature of the property, right? This one is right on the street, but then the next one that may come in could be a corner property and actually have outdoor seating that would be more acceptable. I mean, nothing here just fits in a square peg, right? And so I think it would be too limiting to do that.
And additionally, in New Orleans, since people are allowed to drink on the street, even people who buy liquor in packaged stores can happily just go right on the street and drink their liquor. So it's not restricting people in any way to do that.
Okay, you can stop looking. Okay. I'm more of a rules across the board kind of guy, but I hear what you're saying, so I'll go, I'm in your camp now.
If there's no further discussion, I would like to make a motion. I'm going to go ahead and go against staff recommendation on this and move forward with the approval of the text amendment.
I'll second.
I second. Go ahead.
I've owned in the CBD for over 20 years too, and I just feel like this is an appropriate use for this space, and I really enjoy the conditional use process, and I think it's a good tool that we have.
And to Mr. Duplanche's point, I do agree that the whole idea of the comprehensive zoning ordinance was to reduce conditional uses. I do think this is an appropriate place for it. I also understand your reluctance to see the proliferation of this because of the short-term rental activity that's been going on, but I also see that short-term rentals has taken away a lot of the neighborhoodness of the neighborhoods, and this sounds like exactly what we might be losing to that, and we should embrace it where we see it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think wine shops are different from bars or packaged liquor stores, and I think it's important to recognize the experience of wine and wine drinking and education, which I think for a city such as ours that is so food-centric, we should definitely try to encourage that part of the food experience.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor against staff recommendation for approval by Commissioner Witry and seconded by Commissioner Brown. Are there any questions or further comments from the commission before we call the vote? Okay, well, we'll vote our machines.
You got it.
Okay, and zoning docket 01425 moves forward. Next is zoning docket item 01525.
Good afternoon. Zoning docket 1525 is a conditional use request to permit a wine shop located on Girard Street in a CBD 5 urban core neighborhood, lower intensity mixed use district. Wine bars and wine shops are not currently authorized in the CBD 5 district and would be a conditional use only if the associated text amendment via zoning docket 1425 is ultimately approved. The site is currently utilized as a restaurant Pluck, which is comprised of approximately 1,585 square feet. The applicant proposes to continue the existing use while also incorporating the sale of bottled wine for on and off-premise consumption. While the CBD 5 district is intended for a mix of commercial and residential use, the list of permitted commercial uses in this district is more restrictive than in other CBD districts in order to protect its residential character. Given that the CBD 5 does not allow bars, staff considers that wine bars would not be consistent with the intent of the CBD 5 district. For that reason, and because staff recommended denial of the associated text amendment heard previously, staff recommends denial of zoning docket 1525.
Thank you. We have no comment cards. Would the applicant like to speak or somebody in support? Just state your name and address for the record.
Nicole Weber, 2131 Bienville. Nothing further to add. I think we covered all the ground. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Duplanche, would you like to speak?
Quickly, I have another bite at the apple here. I wish you would take Mr. Steeg's suggestion under advisement. Thank you. As it turns out, I found that use standards actually have more protection than the provisos under conditional uses. The conditional uses, the provisos under conditional use tend to be pretty generic and standard, not bad things, but they don't really address the individual, in most cases, don't address the individual problems of an applicant. Thank you. So I think you should take it under consideration. In fact, we do have such a thing, Mr. Steeg. We have it in restaurant hours. Restaurant hours in CBD 5 are different than restaurant hours in all the other CBD districts. So there is a precedent for doing what you're suggesting. Thank you.
Mr. Duplanche, could you just state your, Mr. Duplanche? Could you just state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm sorry, I should have done so. Michael Duplantier, 820 Barone Street, New Orleans.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion which is going to try to address.
Commissioner Steve, before you make the motion, would you?
Oh, sorry.
Would you like
we
to,
were done.
Would you like to? So I just want to know for the record that was a comment in opposition. Would you like to rebut?
We, no, I really don't have a
Okay.
rebuttal to that. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
May I ask, Ms. Weber? But do I understand from the earlier that you're okay if the commission were to adopt provisos on this conditional use, limiting you to 500 or no consumption?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So realizing that that might not meet with people's approval, I am going to make a motion to approve the conditional use, but to add two provisos to the provisos already in there, limiting the size of the wine shop at this property, and to allow them a little flexibility to 550 square feet, and to prohibit on-site consumption of the wine products.
Can we get a list of provisos? I don't see.
So it would be what you're adding plus compliance with the use standards in Article 20, which generally apply across the board and will apply whether or not they're restated in the approval, but I think it would just be good to include that as a proviso as well. And I can pull them up on the screen if that's helpful.
Do we have a second for your motion?
Is there a second?
No.
I
Would
will
you
not
like
be
to amend
seconding
your
this
motion?
motion.
We're not seconding this motion.
I will not be seconding it.
I would like to make a different motion to approve.
So, Commissioner Steve, would you withdraw your?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to make a motion to deny staff's report and approve zoning docket 015-25.
I'll second.
Just to clarify, is that subject to the provisos provided by staff?
Yes,
Thank you.
though I don't see them in the report.
Can you, how many provisos are there?
So I heard three. One would address the use standards, one would address the size. What was it?
So
The two that I suggested are out.
Oh, okay, so I heard one.
Yeah. No, I did not see any provisos listed in the staff
Yeah,
report,
so
so I'm
there's-
asking you what are the provisos?
There's no provisos in the staff
Exactly.
report. The one that would sort of enforce itself, regardless of whether it's in there, is compliance with the use standards in Article 20.3.PPP.
Right.
That can be put in there as a proviso, but either way, it's going to be applied by safety permits.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to go against staff recommendation for approval from Commissioner Joshi Gupta, seconded by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will vote our machines. Okay, great. So zoning docket 01525 moves forward. Congratulations. The next item of business are subdivision ratifications.
In your packet includes these several items which we believe to be eligible for administrative approval, and you would be ratifying that determination.
Move approval.
I'll second. Witchery will second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve subdivision ratifications from Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Witchery. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote our machines. Commissioner Steve. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Subdivisions are ratified. That concludes today's business. I'm looking for a motion
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Have a great day.
Thank you.